Hey everybody, what's going on, and welcome to Guns N' Roses Central. I hope you guys are having a great Monday morning, and it's time to start with the last week's Guns N' Roses news. Now, before we get started, I want to give Michaela a huge shout out. She was on our podcast a couple weeks ago, and she went to the Steven Adler show with the Whisky, as well as the Ride for Ronnie event that happened last week as well. And she got to meet Vicky Hamilton. Now, if you guys remember, we interviewed Vicky Hamilton late last year. She was one of our first interviews we got on GNR Central's podcast. And here's a little snippet of what she shot for us, including a cool story about Guns N' Roses back in the day.
And this is GNR Central, and we're with Michaela, who works for GNR Central. And this is Damien Sage and Love Past Blue, who I manage. You guys want to introduce yourselves?
I'm Cleo Cadence with Love Past Blue.
I'm Jack Hickman. And I'm Joe. Damien Sage.
A different project, but all good. And but we're not here to talk about my new project, but we kind of are. So buy them when their records come out. And we're here to talk about Steven Adler playing the Whisky across the street, which is really awesome. I'm so proud of him. And go Steven with your sobriety. I'm so proud of you. And this is where I lived with Guns N' Roses. It's like if you look straight through to the back apartment, that's where we lived. And Steven and Izzy were dragging a backdrop through that swimming pool and almost got me evicted, but I did get evicted later on. Anyway, yeah, this would be the wrought iron gate that Axl would slam shut on his way down to the Sunset Strip. But it's really fun to hang with you and, give Steven a lot of love because he deserves it. And I can't wait to see him with Constantine. That's going to be cool, right?
Yes.
So anyway, thanks for having us.
Thank you for coming on. We really appreciate it.
No problem.
And you were one of the favorite interviews that they've done, and you were one of the first that they did, and they're so grateful to you. And again, good luck to all of you.
I love the channel. It's a great channel.
Thank you. Nice.
Yep. And again, thank you, Vicky, and for
you're
everything.
so welcome. Thanks for having us.
Good luck with everything.
All right. Cool.
Alrighty, guys. Thank you so much.
Give it the big parade wave. All right.
Alrighty, and I'm off to see Steven Adler. Woo!
So before we get started with today's news, I also want to let you guys know on Saturday, Jeff and I interviewed Jimmy Ashurst of Izzy Stradlin and the Juju Hounds, as well as Buck Cherry for almost 2 hours. He talked a lot about his career. He hung out a lot with the guys from Guns N' Roses back in the 80s, and he had some great stories to share. What you guys may not know is that he was present at that 2000 appearance that Axl made. So if you guys remember, Axl had been out of hiding for a number of years. He shows up at a venue where Gilby Clarke's playing, and Jimmy Ashurst was there. He's the guy on the right on the photo. And he had a funny story about how that whole thing happened and how he wasn't even supposed to be there. So I'm not going to ruin it at all, but the interview is going to be up on Wednesday, and we really want to thank Jimmy, as well as Fab9, who helped us out. Without him, we wouldn't have had the interview, so I really want to thank them for helping us out. Now, if you guys support us on Patreon, you already have access to the interview, so just go to Patreon and you can listen to the interview there. I also want to let you guys know, in case you missed it, the 1993 full show Pro Shot from Saskatoon, Canada has leaked, and the full show is available online. I took out some of the best moments from the show, as well as Axl talking to the audience, and put that up on my channel. So I put the links to those down below if you guys want to go check them out. So I want to let you guys know that we were fortunate enough to interview rock legend Manny Charlton, who used to be in the band Nazareth. He worked with Guns N' Roses back in 1986 at Sound City Studios. In fact, some of the recordings that are going to be included as part of the Appetite for Destruction remaster are going to feature those sessions that Manny worked with the band on. So we talked about his time with Guns N' Roses. We talked about his early career. We even asked him about his thoughts on the Hair of the Dog cover that Guns N' Roses did on the Spaghetti incident. So if you guys want to read that interview with him, you can click the link down below and check it out. Now, this kind of came out of left field, so some people contacted me and told me, hey, Sid, do you watch American Dad? I haven't watched that show in such a long time, pretty much since it started airing. And I'm not a huge Seth MacFarlane fan. I find South Park much more funny. But anyways, they poked some fun at Axl Rose's expense. So there is a clip of it if you guys want to see it. So there was an episode that aired back in late April or so. So the episode is basically called My Purity Ball and Chain. and it sees the character Steve forced to attend a sex aversion therapy camp, and he's subjected to images of loving couples interspersed with close-ups of herpes sores and Axl Rose until the very sight of girls makes him nauseous. So a lot of the clips they show of Axl are from the Not in This Lifetime tour, and they're not very flattering to say the least. So if you guys want to go check the clip out, I've linked to it down below. Thanks to the fans who sent me those, by the way. So this next piece of news came out of left field. So Guns N' Roses made their first Billboard song chart appearance in almost 10 years with the release of Shadow of Your Love. So it's the first time that Guns N' Roses made the mainstream rock songs chart since 2009. So according to Billboard, the song debuted at number 31 on the mainstream rock charts dated May 12th. So according to the article, Shadow of Your Love is the first GNR track to crack the mainstream rock songs chart in nearly a decade and the band's 22nd entry overall. The group, which boasts 8 top 10s, has basically had their last song chart in 2009 with the song Better off Chinese Democracy. That song charted at number 18 in January of 2009. So the article states that the song earned 1.1 million audience impressions in the first 3 days of airplay across all radio formats in the US for the week ending May 7th, according to Nielsen Music. We also had a new interview with Duff McKagan. Now, some people thought this was an old interview, but it was actually new. Duff did a very similar interview with the same guy on radio in Seattle. So Duff was acting all punk rock and talking about transportation engineering in this interview. It's up on my channel if you guys want to go listen to it. He talks a bit about Guns N' Roses and the success the band had in 2017 as one of the highest grossing tours. So one of the biggest rumors that came out this week is that Del James, who was Guns N' Roses tour manager, posted this on social media. So it was basically a letter from the record company saying that they're going to be announcing the release of Powerage to mark the 30th anniversary of the album over this past weekend. Some people thought that why would Del James be posting this on social media? Maybe it's him hinting that Axl is going to be singing on an upcoming AC/DC record. But you guys can make of it what you will. We haven't heard anything official, and even Chris Slade, who is AC/DC's drummer, has been tight-lipped about whether AC/DC is going to be recording another album at all, or whether it's going to be with Axl. We've also got some Dizzy Reed news this week. So it was announced that he's going to be touring with the Dead Daisies. He's going to be opening for them with his band Hookers and Blow throughout the month of August and September. They're going to be doing a tour across North America, mostly US states. He was also on Eddie Trunk's show this past week, along with Alice in Chains. He was promoting his solo record. He talked a bit about Guns N' Roses, and he let it slip that they've also got some fall tour dates in the works. So I'm sure we're going to see some more tour dates announced shortly. So Guns N' Roses announced yet another show they've added to their Not in This Lifetime tour. So last week it was announced that they'd be playing Reykjavik, Iceland, and then another date showed up. They were going to be playing Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates, and they played Abu Dhabi last year. In fact, I think it might have been one of their last shows they played as part of the Not in This Lifetime tour for that leg. So they haven't announced any other shows, but we do know they're doing 2 shows. There was also a rumor that Guns were going to be playing the Philippines in November as well, but some people were casting doubt as to whether that rumor was true. Some people thought that the venue choice for the Philippines gig didn't seem right, and as we get more information on that, I will let you guys know. So this week marked the debut of Steven Adler's new lineup for Adler's Appetite. They played 3 shows this week. So there was the Ride for Ronnie event, which they were joined by a number of other bands, including Slash's Son's band, Classless Act. They also played a secret show for some family and for some friends at the Whisky the night before the official Whisky show. And then, of course, they played the May 10th show at the Whisky. So there's a lot of footage up on YouTube. Even Michaela recorded some footage at the end of one of their gigs where they played at the Ride for Ronnie event. I'm going to include it at the end of this video. And if you guys want to see the video footage, you can go to the links down below. Kevin, who's been on the podcast before and showed us some of his collection, he went to the gig. There's even a review he wrote for the show, so I've put the link to that down below as well. So one of the news stories that sort of fell through the cracks this week with everything going on is that there was some pro shop footage that leaked online or surfaced online from the 1991 Copenhagen, Denmark show that Guns did just before Izzy quit the band. So there's a little snippet that Franz and Roses put up on his channel. I've linked to it down below. And it's just of the band playing a couple minutes of Night Train. The quality is not the best, but it's really the only footage that I've seen from this Copenhagen show. Now, if you guys remember, Guns N' Roses' original bassist was a guy called Ole Bike, and he left the band, and he ended up dying about a month after this show in Copenhagen, Denmark. I always wonder if he had the chance to go see Guns N' Roses when they came to Denmark back in '91. So that does it for this week's news. Thanks for watching, everybody. Be sure to hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, and be sure to subscribe if you love Guns N' Roses as much as I do, and go visit us on GNRCentral.com to keep up to date on the latest Guns N' Roses news as it's happening.
I'm exhausted, I'm tired. And my name is Steven, and I'll see you guys again real soon. Thank you for letting me enjoy this afternoon with you. Thank you and have a great rest of the day. I love you.
Thank you. Oh, you should have reached around.